Okay, so today we're diving into some really um, quite varied texts. We've got a bit from Acts, some Psalm, and then that famous story from John.
Yeah, it's a great mix. You get the sort of historical feel from Acts, the really personal, devotional side in the psalm, and then a narrative about Jesus in action in John.
And what jumps out is how they touch on similar ideas, even though they're so different. Things like, dealing with new movements, faith, resilience, I guess.
Exactly. And that theme of abundance popping up where you least expect it, all set against that first century backdrop, the Sanhedrin, Passover, ideas about prophets.
Right, let's start with Acts then,
Okay.
Gamaliel. His speech to the Sanhedrin is fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. He comes across as incredibly pragmatic, doesn't he?
Totally. He's basically saying, hold on, let's look at history. He mentions Theudas and Judas the Galilean.
Yeah, and the key thing is how he uses them. It's not about their specific teachings, but about the pattern.
What was the pattern then? Remind us.
Yeah. Well, he points out Theudas got what, 400 followers? But when Theudas died, the whole thing just fell apart, scattered.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Judas the Galilean gathered people during the census, but after his death, his followers dispersed, gone.
So Gamaliel's using these as, like, case studies.
Precisely. He's not debating theology, he's looking at sustainability. His argument is purely practical, almost strategic.
It's that wait and see thing, isn't it? If this movement around Jesus is just human, it'll probably break up on its own.
Just like the others. But,
Oh,
and this is the kicker, if it actually is from God.
then trying to stop it is pointless and potentially dangerous. Take care not to find yourselves fighting against God, he says.
It's such a shrewd piece of advice. It's about discernment, really. Letting time reveal the true nature of something.
You can see how that applies, can't you? When you encounter something new, some new trend or idea, how do you know if it's got staying power?
Yeah, it's a bit like, I don't know, evaluating a new tech startup or something. Does it have real foundations? Or is it just hype?
But the Sanhedrin didn't entirely take his advice, did they?
Well, they didn't execute the apostles, which seems to be what Gamaliel is cautioning against, but they weren't willing to just let it go either.
Right, they had them flogged
Yeah.
and warned them again, sternly.
Which makes the apostles' reaction even more striking.
I know. They leave the Sanhedrin happy, glad to have had the honor of suffering humiliation for the sake of the name. I mean, that requires a whole different mindset.
It's completely counterintuitive, isn't it? Joy in suffering. It suggests their whole value system was flipped. Honor wasn't about avoiding pain, but about faithfulness despite pain.
What do you think gives someone that kind of conviction? To see humiliation as an honor?
It must stem from an incredibly deep belief in the truth and importance of their message and in the one they followed. They genuinely saw it as aligning with something bigger, something divine, and that was worth more than their own comfort or reputation.
And they didn't stop. The text says they just kept going.
Ceaselessly, every day, teaching, proclaiming the news publicly in the temple, privately in homes, the flogging, the warnings, they didn't deter them at all.
That level of resilience, that inner strength, it connects really well with Psalm 27, actually.
Oh, definitely. You read those opening lines. Yahweh is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? Yahweh is the fortress of my life. Whom should I dread?
There's such confidence there. Not arrogance, but deep trust. It pushes back against fear.
The imagery is so strong. Light against darkness, salvation from danger, a fortress for safety. It's not just wishful thinking. It feels like a lived reality for the psalmist.
And then verse 4. One thing I ask of Yahweh, to dwell in Yahweh's house all the days of my life.
Yeah, that longing for connection, for presence. It's not about asking for stuff, is it? It's about relationship, about being close to the divine.
Seeking that communion above all else.
Which kind of reframes what goodness means. And then later, verses 13 and 14, that declaration of faith is powerful.
I shall see the goodness of Yahweh in the land of the living. It's future-oriented, hopeful.
Absolutely. And the call that follows. Put your hope in Yahweh. Be strong. Let your heart be bold. It's active. Hope isn't passive waiting. It requires courage, strength.
Which, again, sounds a lot like those apostles leaving the Sanhedrin, doesn't it? Bold hearts, strong despite the opposition.
Exactly. That same spirit of defiant hope, of resilience rooted in faith.
Okay, let's shift gears to John's Gospel, the feeding of the 5,000. Big story.
Huge story. And the setup is important. Jesus crosses the Sea of Galilee. This massive crowd follows him because they've seen the healings.
And Passover is near. That adds a layer, right? A time of expectation, maybe? Remembering deliverance?
For sure, the context always matters. Passover would heighten everything: food, resources, people's hopes.
So Jesus sees the crowd and asks Philip, where can we buy bread for these people? But John tells us it's a test.
Right. Jesus already knows what he's going to do. He's testing Philip's perspective, perhaps.
And Philip's answer is pure logistics. So human. 200 denarii wouldn't even buy a tiny piece each.
He does the math. He sees the massive need and the, well, seemingly limited resources. It's the practical, reasonable assessment. Impossible.
Focuses on the scarcity. Then Andrew comes along.
Yeah, Andrew finds this boy, 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, which is something.
But even Andrew immediately qualifies it. But what is that among so many? Still stuck in that scarcity mindset.
Understandably so. 5 loaves, 2 fish. For thousands of people, it seems ludicrously inadequate. It really highlights the gap between human assessment and divine possibility.
And then Jesus just takes it, takes the loaves, the fish, gives thanks.
Has everyone sit down, which implies order, expectation.
And starts distributing. And everyone eats, not just a bite as much as they wanted. 5,000 men, plus women and children, probably.
It's staggering, the scale of it, from those 5 loaves and 2 fish.
And the leftovers. 12 large baskets full. That detail always gets me. It's not just enough, it's overflowing.
It completely shatters the scarcity model, doesn't it? It points to this incredible, unexpected abundance emerging from what seemed like almost nothing.
It forces a shift in perspective. Maybe resources aren't as limited as we think. Or maybe provision comes from unexpected places.
It certainly made an impact on the crowd. Their reaction is immediate. This is indeed the prophet who is to come into the world.
They see it as a sign. A messianic sign, perhaps. Someone who can provide, like Moses with the manna.
It seems likely they recognize something extraordinary has happened, which leads to their next move, wanting to make him king.
Right, they want to take him by force and make him king. And Jesus' response?
He withdraws, goes up into the hills alone. He actively resists that interpretation, that political power grab.
Interesting. He performs this incredible sign of provision, but then refuses the kind of power they try to give him based on it.
Yeah, it suggests his purpose, his kingship, was something different from their expectations.
So bringing these threads together, we have Gamaliel's cautious observational wisdom. Wait and see.
Then the apostles' response in unwavering faith, seeing suffering as honor, relentless action despite opposition.
Fueled by that deep trust and hope we see in the psalm, finding strength and boldness in faith.
And finally, the John story, this overwhelming abundance appearing from scarcity, challenging limited perspectives, but also Jesus managing the interpretation of that power.
It's quite a combination. Caution, resilience, hope, and unexpected abundance.
And maybe they offer, different ways to think about things we encounter. How do you assess something new? Like Gamaliel, where do you find strength when things are tough? Like the apostles and the psalmist. And are you open to seeing abundance where you might initially only see lack, like in the feeding story?
Yeah, it prompts you to consider. How do you discern what's lasting? Where do you place your hope when things feel uncertain? It's definitely food for thought from these ancient accounts.